We are here now at EcoFab to speak with Rachel Chainey, who is the maven of Milieu, which is an art hive and has been around for a long time. So we're very excited to talk with Rachel today. This is Stephanie Tholand from OuiShare Montreal, and welcome back to We the People, our interview series. So Rachel, it's nice to have you.
Thank you. With us. Nice to talk to you today.
Tell us, what does, in your view, the sharing economy, the collaborative economy, mean to you?
It's about people helping each other out. It's about a sense of community. It's about depending less from a capitalist economy where everyone needs to have their own set of everything, and we can put our resources in common so that not everyone needs to have each power tool, and so we can help each other out. Also about skills, for example, if my neighbor is really good at sewing, she can help me out with that, and I can help her out with anything else, cook for her or whatever. And also for me, there's this idea of gift economy that I really like, which is about giving what you have and sharing what you have without it having to be an exchange, like a one-for-one compensation for whatever you give. And I think it just cultivates a sense of abundance. Yeah.
Well, that might be the answer to my next question, was what really motivates you to be a part of it and to contribute to it?
Well, as someone who doesn't earn a lot of money and loves to volunteer and loves to do a lot of things that are not very lucrative, it's nice to find alternative ways to, like you said, feel that sense of abundance, feel that we're not always how do you say that? Trying to make ends meet or survive in that sense, but that you're okay, you have a community around you, that whenever you need something, it's going to be there for you, and you don't have to go to the store and buy this $300 thing, whatever it is, whether it's a winter jacket or a sewing machine or, a saw to, fix your furniture. It's also, there's a big environmental component for me too, in the sense that in that way you can, for example, if you need furniture, you can take what you find on the curb and you can transform it into what you need, as opposed to going and buy things that are not necessarily ethically produced or using materials that are eco-friendly or anything. Because often also when they are ethical and eco-friendly, they're really expensive, so I can't afford them. So what do you do between choosing the made in China crap or the really expensive, going in debt to buy the really expensive? Why not make it yourself? Why not make it with others,
Well, in terms of overcoming the financial restrictions and the environmental overconsumption, are there any other challenges that you're trying to help solve with your engagement?
Well, I think in terms of the work I do also with Le Milieu and with art hives, there's a strong social component as well with breaking that isolation. I think it's all linked to one another in a sense. I think capitalism really creates social isolation and creates a strain to the environment, and also creates poverty in so many people because there's market laws that are not really in balance with human beings, actually. So I think it's all linked, but I think when you share, you get to know your neighbors, you get to share that sense of vulnerability too, that we all need each other, that we cannot function individually in a bubble without acknowledging our neighbors. And it's a way to also discover all the things that the people around us are able to create and make with their hands and all that.
So with Le Milieu, which is an art hive, which you've been running for a while now, what impact and what is your objective that you hope to achieve for Montreal with that?
I don't know if there's a final objective. I think it's always a work in progress. I don't think it's ever finished. I think, it grows. The more people come to use this space, the more they get engaged with their neighbors, the more they get engaged with their creativity, the more resources are shared. And if we're looking at how we operate there, and in most of the art hives, it's about people bringing donations of materials that they're no longer using so that other people can use them. So the more people come, the more materials there is for other people to reuse. And so I see it as a spiral really, where there's more abundance generated of materials, there's more skills being shared, there's more neighborly connections being made, there's more, the number of things that you can think of obtaining through sharing economy increases. Since I've been involved there, I've been getting, free food, free clothing, free sewing, free, so many things have come my way that I didn't even, more than I needed even, so much abundance that I had to share it because it was even too much, more than I could handle, more than the space could handle. And in the art hives, there's this idea that we support the new ones that start by giving them materials to get started on their own, and then they get materials, and then they get to share them with the newer hives that are starting as well. So, it's really a spiral that feeds into itself, and it never stops. Also for skills and all that, there's also this exchange that goes on of somebody shared that skill there, and then they get to go to another space and share it with another community, and it's really rooted, I think, in sharing economy in so many ways. Here today at EcoFab, we're doing a repair cafe, which is also another way for people to come together and help each other out. My laptop is broken and we're trying to repair it. So if it works out, I'm going to save maybe hundreds of dollars and maybe thousands if I were to buy a new one. So it's really good, and it feels good, to just be around people and help each other out and feel like we have power as people over the things that happen to us. It's not only the big Apple store that can save me from my problem. People in my community can do that. I don't need them, and that feels really good. To me, this is resilience. It's not feeling like I depend on these huge corporations.
Mm-hmm. And I love that idea that we actually have so much abundance.
Yeah,
amongst
it is
ourselves.
there, for sure.
I love that. Well, I know that you have some big new future plans for Le Milieu, and I'm wondering what is necessary for you to take it to the next level. Can you tell us what that level looks like?
Okay, well, we have already a new space that we're moving in, so that is secured. It's just a matter of it being ready because there's construction involved, and so this will take a while. But other than that, we want to include makerspace or Fab Lab component to it, so for sure we're going to need equipment, but a lot of that will happen through the money that we've raised with Indiegogo. We raised $10,000 to that campaign. So that will help. And other than that, the same principle applies, I guess. If people have things, equipment, or, companies or individuals have tools or equipment that they're not using and that they want to share, or even if they're using it, because I think for me personally, I brought my power tools to the Milieu not because I'm not using them ever, but because I'm not using them 365 days a year. I'm using them only once in a while. So while I'm not using them, why not let other people use them? So this same thing applies if people want to share, what they have. I think it's the best way, and other than that, we can make that happen with that money. And so I think that it's going to go pretty smoothly because we already have that community in place and that generating abundance system in place. So I'm feeling hopeful about that.
Well, I'm excited to see it. It'll be very nice, I think.
Me too.
What do you think that the Art Hive community of Montreal, the collaborative community of Montreal, what do you think is needed there to take it to the next level?
Well, I've been thinking a lot. We've had University of the Streets Cafe conversation about exchange economy last year at Le Milieu, and we've been wondering about how do we... It seems fairly easy to get things like food, clothing, repairs done through gift or sharing economy, but it seems harder when it comes to housing and paying electricity and all that. So I'm wondering, what can we do as a community? Are there solutions, building solar panels to provide electricity for a neighborhood, or some things that are maybe more labor intensive or longer run? It's surely more simple to ask your neighbor to hem your pants or to shovel your entryway than to try to wean ourselves from Hydro-Quebec or something. But I'm wondering, like, because really, if I think of myself, it's mostly the reason why I need to earn income is to pay my rent and my hydro bill. And I'm sure it's the same for many of us. So this is something that's on my mind. And I know in warmer climates, people build earthships, but I don't know how would you do the same thing in Montreal? Like, is there land available? Is that doable? I don't know. But these are things that are on my mind every now and then, for sure. Other than that, I think some mapping initiative of what's going on where could help. I know there's a lot of efforts done by you guys at OuiShare, but also I'm part of a few dumpster diving groups on Facebook, and there's mapping going on, but I'm sure it could be more. It's building on small things and then expanding from there. Even at Le Milieu, we like to recuperate food to cook our meals, our weekly meals from, and I'm sure that there's enough wasted food that we could only source from wasted or potentially wasted food, but sometimes the connections are not all in place, and I'm sure waste happens anyway just because the connections are not in place. And I think it's a new branch of the economy or a new way of people organizing themselves, so I think it will grow and it needs time. I don't have a precise solution in mind, but I think that it will happen with time and with people becoming more aware of that way, because it's not popular, and I mean, it's not going to get big advertisement because there's some people in power positions that don't want that to happen because they want us to remain captive of of corporations. So
those are some good ideas, the larger scale innovations and mainstreaming of some of the more alternative ways of sourcing our needs,
you know,
satisfying our needs.
I know in some places there are these, in terms of art materials, the creative reuse centers, and these are places where all the materials that are not being used from companies, like the fabric samples and, you know, wood and you name it, is all there, and artists and educators can just go and grab it for free. So if there were, for this in every city, but then also supermarkets of food where you could go and like basically shop but without money for vegetables that are discarded, because often what's there is a lot of the same, like 20 cabbages, but what are you going to do with all those? But if they were placed in somewhere where people could go and just grab what they need, some equivalent to the commercial spaces, but non-commercial.
Well, these are definitely ideas that we will keep in mind as we continue to talk with other players in this city that are doing initiatives. Specifically, are there other ways that OuiShare can help you with your objectives and what you're trying to achieve?
I'm wondering if there was like some sort of forum where you could say, this is what I need, and somebody else could reply and say, okay, I have this, or something like an exchange platform for people to voice their needs and voice their offers as well.
Communication within the collaborative ecosystem.
Yeah, I think so. Or even with cars, because I think of communautal, if there's an exchange of money, or if people have to pay fee for service, is this still the sharing economy or no? But what if people would offer rides to each other? Sometimes I need a car just to transport materials from one place to the other, and oftentimes my first response, like first will be like asking a friend or family member for a ride, but if they're not available, I'll take a taxi, and this is expensive. So if there was this list, and I think it sort of exists, but it's still unfamiliar, and so to just bring more awareness of how we can actually use these services that are there in a sense already.
Well, in terms of what is there already, what is out there in the collaborative ecosystem in Montreal that does really inspire you, and would you like to work with anyone particularly more? For sure, the dumpster diving community, I think, is something that
if I think of Le Milieu and even of many art hives, there's a few that have cafes like La Place Commune and others that don't, but they still do food. They still have either cooking sessions or there's always food on the table for people to share. If there was a way to really build that connection between art hives and dumpster divers, I think it would be great. Another thing is really around materials. I know there's a lot of waste in that area as well, like the creative reuse centers, if we could get that going. And well, I know there's somewhere around here and around EcoFab, but it's like a big flea market of like different things that are found. It's a similar, I don't think it's free, but I think it's very cheap, so I think it's a similar, but how could we find a way to reuse all the... Because every day, like really every day, I walk around the street and I see pallets on the side of the curb or plywood, and for sure some of these things end up in the trash truck. So how could we actually save those things? And I don't know if it's a group in particular in Montreal, as you were asking, or if it's just a matter of putting the word out there and just reducing the waste and creating opportunities.
I like it. Well, we'll definitely keep those objectives in mind because I think they are very much ones that a lot of the community agrees with and just needs more access and understanding of how they can reduce waste and reduce consumption. So I think that's going to be a major push from OuiShare to help make people more aware of how they can move in those directions.
Yay.
So we'll keep you posted and
thank you.
And share with everyone.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for talking with us. It was really nice, and be sure to let us know when you open up the new space.
For sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Stephanie.